Should you market your work? And today we are going to hear Kurt Vonnegut's philosophy toward writing, marketing, and putting yourself and your writing out in the world. And my name is Ian, and here on Write Conscious, we cover the greatest authors and books of all time. And of course, that does include Kurt Vonnegut. And today he's going to offer a contrarian opinion to what I usually say on the channel. But I hope to blend the two philosophies together and provide you guys with a ton of value. But enough for me. Let us now hear from Vonnegut. I used to teach a writer's workshop at the University of Iowa back in the 1960s, and I would say at the start of every semester, the role model for this course is Vincent van Gogh, who sold 2 paintings to his brother. I just sit and wait to see what's inside me, and that's the case for writing or for drawing. And then out it comes. There are times when nothing comes. James Brooke, the fine abstract expressionist, I asked him what painting was like for him, and he said, I put the first stroke on the canvas, and then the canvas has to do half the work. That's how serious painters are. They are waiting for the canvas to do half the work. Come on, wake up. And I love that Vonnegut evoked Vincent van Gogh here because I talk about Yeats, the poet, all the time on the channel. And he said that poets shouldn't be worrying about publishing until they are after 30. And that artists should accept that they are going to live in poverty for their entire lives. And for most writers, this is a very great preliminary mindset to have and to hold in your heart, even as you move through the stages of your career, because today we have the MFA factory farms. We have the genre fiction factory farms. We have a million people with their little selling hacks telling you how to grow your genre fiction audience and target the people that like Bigfoot erotica or whatever, and telling you that you need to change what the longer project you are working on. Change the type of novels that you are writing. And that is absolute bullshit. You should never change the longer projects that you are working on because those are your legacy pieces. Those are what you are going to be remembered for if anyone remembers you at all. But more importantly, those pieces are going to be what inspires the next generation of artists, and that's how you are going to be remembered, is through the energy signature you put down. And that is really important stuff. And it's so important that it is worth it to live in poverty. It is worth it to find a job where you can write at that is low stress so you have more time for your art. I would never tell anyone that you have to live like Cormac McCarthy or Dostoevsky or whoever who had to suffer, because Vonnegut actually didn't have to suffer. It's easy when you are rich and have had a wildly successful career to say to everyone else, don't worry about selling. But the mentality that I am preaching over on my free writing school in 2024 and beyond for real writers, for literary fiction authors, for the genre writers who are actually writing something worth anything, is that you should focus on your longer piece and never change anything in that. Never make a compromise if you are willing to do one thing, because I talk about on the channel all the time that many writers are very self-absorbed and their novels are self-absorbed and no one cares enough to read this complicated novel by this no-name. And so if you want to do an ambitious project that you may think will be misunderstood or not very popular, then you have another job, and you could be doing this while you are at work, while you have low energy, when you have downtime, and that is building one-on-one relationships with readers out there who will one day want to read your novel. And the way that you could do that is by releasing shorter pieces, releasing content, or reaching out and meeting them personally because you know that they would be a good fit for your work, but not being needy and saying, hey, my name is Ian, come watch my video, but saying, hey, how are you doing? And then not pitching them at all, ever, but rather know that eventually if you guys become friends that they will be interested in your work. And these relationships are something that you can manage throughout your day. And eventually, this is crazy, you guys, that if you have built a sizable audience of people over on Substack or wherever, Instagram, that know you and like you and understand you, and when you post something that's a shorter piece, they automatically hit the like button. And I know, worrying about likes is so dumb, then you have social authority on the space. Most writers on Substack get no likes. Most writers on Substack have no one who cares about their work. And they say, oh, Substack's just about politics, or this platform sucks. But as a beginner writer, all you have is time. And one of the best things that you can do, not just for your career, but for your own writing, is to meet other people and get out of your introverted shell. And you're not selling them anything, but rather you are talking with them and connecting with them. And then that is the platform that will eventually give you the freedom to be able to write longer pieces about whatever you want. And if you were really passionate about that project, then you can write shorter pieces and nonfiction pieces and poetry related to that longer piece, or at least in the same universe. And suddenly you have the model that I talk about at length for free over in my course. And however, writers have more blocks than any other artistic group than I have ever seen. You know, rappers who are also poets and who write down their stuff sell merch, they go out on tour, they meet people, they record, they collaborate. And that's why they have a movement. That's why there is so much upward mobility in rap. And yes, music is a little bit easier to get into, but the writing world is waiting for superstars. Kurt Vonnegut was a superstar. And what's really awesome is that the habits and the mentalities that you fix from our programming of the golden age of writing, where you could just send yourself to a slush pile. I want to be like Kafka. I want to be like Camus. All that bullshit that we've been programmed with is actually holding us back as authors, because the end result, if you follow this path that I'm talking about, if you follow what Vonnegut is talking about, is what James Brooks says, that you can just sit down and put the first stroke on the canvas and just let your intuition guide you. And then you could just send out whatever to the world and people will appreciate it, and you don't have to work a shitty job, and you will have validation or whatever. Okay, awesome. That's all of our end goal. But if you look at authors in the past, a lot of them were alcoholics. A lot of them were cranks. A lot of them were disconnected from their audience, and in later years started writing shittier stuff. And so think about this. If you start putting yourself out there and connecting with an audience, and you are going to meet people that you will be friends with for the rest of your career and who will humble you. I know people from back when I had 50 subscribers on this channel and literally have conversations with them once a week. That humbles me. And that has helped me go from being an introvert to more of an extrovert, because this may sound crazy, but I am a lone wolf type of person. If I wasn't married, I would never talk to anybody. I've gone for years of my life not dating anybody, not having any friends, not even going online and chatting with people, just like spending time alone, not working like easy solo jobs like security or being a caretaker. But having a community, having you guys has gotten me out of my shell. It has put a lot of the times my ego in check. Sometimes when my malignant character qualities come out, I see it immediately and I look back at the video and be like, damn, I was being kind of an asshole. And so one day when I make it big, that's going to help me, because I'm not going to be the author. I was raised in Las Vegas. I've been to over 100 author presentations and signings with like somewhat major authors, because Las Vegas had a ton of money from casinos to bring people in. And I've met plenty who were jerks when you got up to the table and asked them a question, or just would like look at you like you were an idiot and like, let me sign your book and get the hell out of here. I've had a ton of bad experiences with authors, and I feel like it's because they've become too self-absorbed and they've built, the Pink Floyd wall between them and the audience. The other thing that you're going to learn if you start to write if you start to connect with people and start to write shorter stuff about your longer stuff, is that that's a good habit to get into. You're going to learn to be more consistent, because what happens, you guys, if you make it big? What happens if you get $80,000 for your next novel? An advance from Penguin Random House. It's like, oh my God, and it's somewhat successful. But let's say your second novel doesn't have as much hype and you crash out and sell like 2,000 copies and make no money. Well, that has been the death note to many authors in the past, and they've never recovered. But if you have built an independent audience, if you have a Substack and you are writing and speaking or blogging about your life and about your writing process and releasing shorter stuff and releasing poems and releasing nonfiction pieces, then you will have a sustained flow of content that is going out in the world, which will mean that you have a sustained audience, which will produce objective and measurable numbers throughout your career. And the habits that you form will carry through even if you get famous, because like I said, there have been plenty of authors and rappers and whoever who make it big and start to get a little money. And then when they're in the silk sheets, or they start, getting with all the women in their Instagram DMs, they become lazy. And so if you have a consistent practice of posting something even once a month on Substack, that's a short story or something, then you will remain in the game as an author. And then last, and this is to Vonnegut's liking, I would assume, when you're around people and you're consistent and you're happy with yourself and your output and you're talking to other people and you're not an introvert, then it's fun. Suddenly, when you hear Kurt Vonnegut interviewed, he's laughing all the time. He doesn't care about being canceled. You remove yourself from a lot of the anxieties when you're having fun, when you're turning all this into a form of play. And not taking yourself so seriously and releasing something on your Substack that isn't perfect and talking to other people will eventually turn you into a soldier for the literary renaissance, which is at some level someone who is just being authentic and themselves, not worrying about this artistic persona that they think they need to, be. Like, I've known writers who act like Hunter S. Thompson, who act like they need to be some woke person. But all my favorite authors that I know personally are all just authentic people, even if they are boring. But even boring people surprise you sometimes. Like, I know an author, and he's published 2 major novels with major publishing houses. He could sustain as a full-time author, but he has a family, and so he's a professor at a major university for creative writing. And I remember when we first started hanging out at university before he attained any of this success, I thought, okay, here's this kind of timid guy who's following all the rules. He's got everything planned out. But he would call people in our class, sometimes in our workshop classes, retards. He would say it to people. He would, behind closed doors, use other slurs. And I was like, who is this guy who I thought was going to be, the king of social justice saying all this stuff? Who's this simple guy that's very quiet and literally tracks every minute of every day so that he can write more and spend more time with his family? Why? How is he saying all this? He's from San Francisco or like around the Bay Area. And it blew my mind because he's been on major radio programs and got interviewed about his writing. And maybe he doesn't drop, retard or some other slurs, but he still brings that energy where it's suddenly you're listening to this guy. You're like, wow, he's smart. And then you're like, what did he just say? And so that is what we are trying to achieve. That's what Vonnegut does. And that's what I want you guys to have. And so boom, there it is, everybody. The Kurt Vonnegut videos are coming. Expect more in the very near future. We will also probably be doing a Vonnegut book over in the Right Conscious Book Club. If you guys want to go join my book club and have access to daily podcasts and support me and my channel and connect with other members, go over to my Substack. The link is down below, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video.